Welcome to an example in which we're given a function and we're trying to find the average rate of change on that interval. Okay, so how are we going to do it? Well, I've given you here's the exam 1 notes, which are at the top of the Unit 1 module. And so what does it say? The average rate of change, here's the key part we need right there. The average rate of change is f of the second value minus f of the first over second value minus first. I'm showing an example right here. So let's do it. So, average rate of change is f of the second x minus f of the first x all over second x minus first x. Okay, so what are we talking about? Well, on the bottom are two, in fact, let me just bring it down here, are two x values, So what's our second x? Well, this is our first x, right? And this 2 plus h is our second x. Those are our two x values. So I'll go 2 plus h, that's our second x, minus x, that's our first x. What? Minus 2, I mean. I don't know why I wrote x there. 2. That's right. Second x is 2 plus h. Our first x is 2. So good. And then on the top, we're going to do f of 2 plus h minus f of 2. That's what it says, f of the second, right? So this just goes right into there, and this just goes right into there. Okay, so now, how are we going to do that? Well, the bottom, we'll just leave the bottom as it is for, well, the bottom, yeah, I'll just leave it as it is for now. I can, in a minute, it's just going to become h. You can probably tell on the bottom. What's going to happen on the top, though? Well, here's my function right here. My function, the function we're plugging into, is 1 over x plus 2. So therefore, if you're plugging 2 plus h in, remember, you plug into a function right where the x spot is. So I'm going to plug 2 plus h into that x slot. So it'll become 1 over 2 plus h plus 2. Right? 2 plus h goes right there, because that's what we're plugging into that function. Minus, and now we're going to do it again. This time we're just going to plug 2 into that function. 1 over 2 plus 2. Does that make sense? When you plug into a function, you plug into the x spot. So I plugged in 2 plus h there, right here. And then I plugged in just 2 to right there, right there. Okay, now that's interesting. So we got to do a little bit of algebra now. What becomes of that? Well, that is 1 over 4 plus h minus 1 over 4. Good so far. And this is going to be 2 minus 2, just h. Huh? So I just added 2 and 2 to get 4 and 2 and 2 to get 4. Okay, so now what are we going to do with that? Yeah, that's a little tricky. What do you do when you have fractions over fractions? Well, let me bring it down here. Let me write it here a little bigger for us. 1 over 4 plus h minus 1 over 4 all over h. So what do you do? So basically, when you have, let me write a note somewhere, fractions over fractions with adding, subtracting. That's the trick. It's because we have that subtraction right there that we have to do something a little more difficult. What is that? You multiply all the terms, top and bottom, by every denominator piece. So what do I mean every denominator piece? What are the denominator pieces? This and this. Right? every piece under a bar. Well, under a small bar. Under a small bar. Meaning, I'm not going to take this h. He's the entire denominator. I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about these little denominators. Multiply all the terms top and bottom by every small denominator piece. Everything under a small denominator, meaning this and this. Those are the only two items under small denominators. So what am I going to do with that? I'm going to multiply every term by that. So you mean I'm going to multiply 4 plus, here, let me change my color so it's more clear. This step to be clear. 4 plus h times 4. 4 plus h times 4. 4 plus h, here I'm going to put the 4 in the front. It does, yeah, I should have put the 4 in the front. It doesn't really matter, but it'd be a little easier. Okay, so see what I did? I multiplied 4, 4 plus h, 4, 4 plus h, 4 plus 4 plus h. All the terms, top and bottom, by every small denominator piece. So both the items under small bars, multiply all the terms, top and bottom, by both of them. Now, it's legal to do in the sense that you're doing the same thing to the top and the bottom of the fraction. So you're not changing anything, right? Anytime you do the same thing to the top and bottom of a fraction, that's fine to do. You're not changing anything. Okay, and then what happens from all that? Well, what happens is this cancels, doesn't it? What do we get then? It's going to clean it up for us. We're going to get, what's left here? 4 times 1 minus 1 times this, 1 parenthesis 4 plus h. And on the bottom, I'm going to reorder this 4h. 4 plus, it doesn't matter, you know, h4, 4h, whatever. Okay? And then, I think we got basically one more step here. Maybe. On the top, we get 4. And then this minus 1's going to distribute. Minus 4 minus h. Did you track with that? That minus 1 multiplied the 4 and multiplied the h. Remember to take that minus with him. That minus is his minus. That's his baby. That minus 1 is going to, here, let me do that a little bit. Yeah, that minus 1's got to go to both the 4 and the h. Over the bottom, 4h times 4 plus h. We're almost there. We are really close. 4 minus 4 cancels. We get minus h over 4h, 4 plus h. And then what happens? H cancels h. Minus 1 over 4, 4 plus h. There's the answer. Why didn't we keep the answer way back here? Well, this was a complex fraction. It's fractions over fractions. We don't like that. We clean it up. So you really need to master that. That's the major step you need to practice. It takes a lot of time to get the hang of learning what we just did there. We look at this mess, and when we have fractions over fractions, we look at every small denominator piece, 4 plus h and 4, and you multiply that to everybody, top and bottom. So you're not changing the fraction, you're just changing the way it looks without changing its actual value, because you're doing the same thing to the top and the bottom. That never changes the value of a fraction. And then you cancel, you get this, you distribute in like terms, and cancel again, he comes on down to this. So that's not easy. There we go. That's the average rate of